Hi guys, I'm Dave.
Hi, I'm Ash.
And together we make OB Dave and African Ash.
Embrace the crazy.
You keep saying that. I've never heard you say that before until we started filming. And
it's because I've been keeping it secret from you for a while.
Like foreshadowing what's to come. Well,
it's warning, but you're too in. You're in too deep now that there's no way out.
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, we're starting a YouTube channel together, so there's no turning back. Yeah. Well, obviously, we've had some huge news as a nation this week, and it's something that I talked about with the Office Blokes today. The video that came out about an hour ago, actually. But I wanted your perspective on it, and also, yeah. Just how you feel about it, the fact that the Queen died yesterday. Was it a shock? Was it a shock to you?
Huge shock. Like, obviously, she's been very unwell. We know that she was obviously made worse with COVID, that she was suffering long COVID. From what I can glean from the information, obviously, the royals are very secretive about a lot of the information. I
was trying to remember that yesterday, that I was like, she's not died of COVID, has she? And they've kind of brushed it under the carpet.
No, she's had COVID before.
But yeah, I could half remember the fact that she had COVID at one point.
Yeah, that's when they started to reduce her duties even further.
Yeah.
And also after Prince Philip passed away as well, she reduced quite a lot of her duties as well.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of partly broken heart syndrome. Because she was a battle axe and she looked so well up until COVID and Prince Philip, and then she seemed to just get frailer and frailer as the time went on.
Well, I think like the reason I was interested in your perspective on it, obviously I know you and I sort of knew how you felt about it anyway, but the fact that you're African, you're from Zimbabwe, which has a bit of a history with the UK, and you could see a lot of people from foreign countries not being royalists, but there's also a huge amount of people around the world that love the Queen, regardless of history and how people feel about colonialisation from the Britain and stuff. So what as an African, how do you feel about the royals first?
So it's an interesting one because my family aren't huge royalists. I've been since I was very little, but that's because my grandma was obviously originates from Gillingham, Kent, so she grew up in England. My mum was brought up in England up until she was 13. And then Sam's mum, my sister's mum, is also British and she loved Princess Diana. So I was always surrounded by the royalist talk, even if my dad and other family members weren't really into it.
Yeah.
But I've actually found it interesting coming over to the UK because I loved the royals so much growing up. I expected that everybody in Britain loved the Queen and the royals, but I've mostly been hit with people who actually don't in Britain. There seems to be more foreigners who love the royals more than a lot of the locals. I don't know if it's just the demographic I've come across.
I think you've got to differentiate the Queen and the royal family, because I'm not a royalist. I'm neither a royalist or an anti-royalist. I'm kind of like, I like the fact that we've got a royal family, but I'm not obsessed with them. It's kind of, I'm indifferent a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm indifferent, but then the Queen is a complete separate ballgame, or was a complete separate ballgame. She was just like a formidable woman for a long time.
Well, in terms of feminism, she is the epitome of it, really.
Well, I think I wonder how she felt about the snowflake sort of generation and the wokeism and stuff, because she's like the original badass matriarch.
She was also a mechanic in the Second World War.
She drove ambulances in the Second World War, and it's like she comes from a time where women, as everyone says, it was oppressed, and they were in a lot of ways.
Massively.
But when the country needed them, like, women were the backbone of the country.
Yeah.
Including her.
They were mostly in munitions, weren't they?
In the factories. Yeah, they're doing practically all the jobs.
And quite a few of those factories went up because of obviously what they were dealing with. But yeah, no, I was absolutely heartbroken when the news came through. I was with a mate at the time. We both burst into tears. We're both very big loves of obviously our Queen Elizabeth. It was a big shock. I suppose I kind of expected it, but I was hanging on to the hope that she was the battle axe that would continue.
literally, we even talked about recording a reaction video preemptively, because as soon as I got into work, Darren was like, Office Boy Daz was like, it's not looking good for the Queen. And I went, what do you mean? And he was like, she's called all the family to Balmoral. And I was like, oh shit, because I knew she was unwell, and I knew the fact that she wanted Liz Truss to come to her to be the new PM obviously didn't bode well.
No.
But then when we were doing the reactions in the afternoon, which at that point she probably had already died, you know, Darren was like, should we record like a tribute video, which is the video that came out tonight? But I just said, if we haven't had confirmation yet, I feel like it's kind of bad juju to do something like that, because it's almost like, it's not wishing it upon someone, but you kind of like, you see like loads of the news companies are going to have been going through the archives waiting for her to die because they've just got this great clip that they can make a load of money out of. Felt a bit parasitic, so I was just like, let's leave it, see what happens. But sure enough, she was already dead. You know, when we were discussing.
But like
I
said, that the royals are very secretive, which I actually appreciate. I think that sometimes a lot of celebrities share too much, or the media give too much away about, you know, intimacy, and then we start judging people.
Yeah.
Whereas our Queen was always that stable, neutral monarch, and I think Daz actually covers that quite well in your guys' video. She was that constant that kept us all grounded, as it were, because even when the, you know, different prime ministers were being, you know, coming through and going, and the changes in the country's economy, wars going on, she has just always been that absolute stable beacon of hope. Like every Christmas, I looked forward to her speeches. It's going to be really emotional not to see her this Christmas ever since I was a kid.
Did you watch our video while I was upstairs?
I did.
Right, okay, I didn't know you'd seen it.
Yeah, no, because I needed to watch King Charles's speech, King Charles III's speech, because it's incredibly huge. As this is like historical event, and she's been such a big part of my life, and I've absolutely like respected and adored her from a young age. So to see her pass, I understand the mourning across the world.
I was a lot more sad about it than I thought I'd be. That's because, you know, before it happened, I was kind of like, I cracked a joke about something when we were talking about it. I can't remember what. And it was all like laughing and joking and stuff. But then I went to the gym after work, and it was lots of speculation on the news. And as soon as I came out, it was like confirmation. Yeah. And I listened to the radio all the way home. When I was cooking dinner, I had the radio on. And then as soon as I sat down to eat, I just had BBC News on, which was all the BBC channels were just the same broadcast. But yeah, it was. I was more sad than I thought.
I wasn't prepared for it, because I think I was still hanging on to that hope that, you know, our good old Queen would continue. And me and H were just sat on the couch talking normal rubbish, you know, just having our normal catch up. And he had the news on in the background, and we were we'd mentioned a couple of times, and, you know, we're worried because we love her. And then all of a sudden the screen went dead quiet, and we looked over, and it had obviously 1952 until... Yeah. Was it 1952? No, 1926.
No, it was 52.
It was 52.
Yeah, 70 years.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, my maths is terrible in my brain. To 2022. And it was in that sudden moment, I was like, H, is she? And he's like, no, it can't be. And I was like, why would they do that? And then obviously they made the announcement, and we both just burst into tears, and it was just awful.
It's definitely a sad one. I mean, before you left Zimbabwe, what was the general sentiment towards the British royal family?
Do you know, it varied. Obviously, because it was colonised by British, a lot of
liberated, but we never colonised anywhere. We liberated lots of places. We civilised lots of countries.
Well, we liberated ourselves from you, but obviously before Zimbabwe, it was known as Rhodesia. And it was under the British colonies, Commonwealth. And I think a lot of the local Zimbabweans who were Rhodesian still held a sore spot for that, because when we were fighting for independence against Robert Mugabe, we reached out to the British for aid. And unfortunately, it was that time where a lot of the Commonwealth countries were up in arms and trying to remove themselves from having the Queen as the head of state. and being independent.
How's that worked out for Hong Kong?
Well, this is what I mean, is a lot of the Commonwealth countries started to wish to go back, and they were actually begging to go back. But at the time when we reached out to England to get support, we were denied. It was a situation we're like, well, we don't want to get involved, because I think as well that the Russians were involved with Mugabe.
You've told me about
because
that.
That's why we've got the
much
communist red star in our flag.
Yeah,
because
so
it's a communist state.
They wouldn't have wanted Zimbabwe or Rhodesia to become a proxy war versus Russia. You know, like the Ukraine is now to a degree.
But it was also because of the uproar in the pressure that the royal family was feeling with the Commonwealth wanting to be released, that they were like, look, we can't get involved. But I think it worked out for the better. Although Robert Mugabe wasn't the right guy to take over,
no,
it needed to go back to being Zimbabwe. It needed to be its original state,
which is what he had close ties with the UK, didn't he, as well?
Massive. I think he had property here in the UK. He actually did his degree over here.
Apparently Hitler studied in the UK.
Are you joking?
No, that's one of them it's one of them that you hear and you take as gospel because someone said it.
Yeah.
And I've never verified it. Like most things I say on YouTube, and I get in trouble for all the time. I'm not saying it as my fact. I'm not a historian.
It's just something you've heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a kind of a mixed boat. You had a lot of very traditional locals who fully were invested in the Queen and the royals, and then you had the other side who were a bit bitter and felt like the royals were above everybody and they were getting more than they deserved.
That is some of the sentiment though, because a lot of people, like, you know, they talked about it on the news yesterday about the fire at Buckingham Palace, and even I was watching it on the news, just like, you know, it's sad. It's all these, you know, historical artifacts and things like that. Never once saw it as someone's home. But not just that, you know, when the taxpayers foot the bill for, what is it, it's millions, it's like 12 million, or is it more?
But you understand that the royal family bring in billions in tourism.
I know, but they're also the biggest landowners on the planet.
But the Queen gave up a lot of that to fund her own things. She had racehorses. She was huge into racing.
I actually think, and I've said this for a couple of years, that the Queen may have been the most powerful person on the planet.
I don't disagree.
And whereas a lot of people are like, there's these secret meetings behind closed doors of rich billionaires and stuff, and she could just absolutely laugh at all of them in terms of wealth, equity, standing, power. And I'm like, I actually think she's had so much more to do with our history over the past 70 years than we give her credit. She gets a lot of credit for it.
She's done it with grace.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's like, I know that a lot of people complain and they say, oh, the royals, you know, they live off this and they're taxpayers. And it's part in truth, but it's not the full picture.
Well, part of the mystique with this country, and the reason a lot of tourists like it, is that we've got so much history, and the royal family is a huge part of it.
It's like Daz said in your video, it's when people talk about the Queen, they talk about our Queen.
Yeah. And I thought they were talking about Lizzo when people say, is that just Queen?
That's just Queen.
Right, okay.
Or Queens of the Stone Age. There's a couple of queens.
There's lots of queens.
There's quite a few queens. Just go up to Canal Street and you'll find a few queens. Fabulous. Actually, our first date was in Gay Village, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. We went into a bar with a drag queen.
Drag queen. She did a fantastic show. She even did that song from Hercules by Meg. I Won't Say I'm in Love, and oh my gosh, it was so perfect. I was like singing alongside her.
It was a good first date.
It was a good first date.
Yeah.
We're divulging though, but we definitely felt we couldn't just let this, go past us.
No, it's got to be.
It's a huge part of our country's history. I am, obviously, although I was born in Zimbabwe, I am British by birthright. My family are British. My dad's side originate from Cornwall. My dad's mum's side originate from Shropshire. And then obviously my mum's parents and her originate from Kent. So although I'm born and raised in Africa and I would associate myself as African, I'm more British now, really.
Well, it depends what identity you choose. Like a lot of people, they hold on to the identity of their parents so closely You look at Conan that we react to quite a lot, and he calls himself Irish all the time. He's born in America, but his parents are both Irish, and apparently he did a DNA test and he's like 100% Irish. There's nothing else in him whatsoever.
That's amazing.
Well, 99% Irish, 1% potato.
We should do that 23andMe.
I've been talking about it for ages. Someone actually commented in the comment section the other day, because they'd obviously gone back and watched an old video where I said I was going to do it, and they commented and said, have you done it yet?
We need
to be honest, I just forgot.
I desperately want to do it, more because my grandmother, my mom's mom, she was adopted from birth and she never wanted to know her biological family. So my history with her side of the family stops dead there.
Yeah.
And it would just be amazing. Did you know as well, with that 23andMe, they include an envelope that you don't have to open?
Yeah, that's what I'm scared of.
Is that what you're scared of? See,
I think I've got a lot of brothers and sisters.
No, not like that.
That's what it is, isn't it?
No, the hidden, the envelope is to give you an idea of what risks you are at, for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, you've got to
heart
pay.
disease.
You've got to pay extra. It's like just the DNA test that will tell you where you're from and all that sort of stuff is about 90 quid. But if you pay, I think it's
for the extra, it's £176.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
See, I want to do that because
that's what I want to do.
If I'm at risk of Parkinson's, I want to prepare for it now.
Oh, my granddad had Parkinson's, and I mean, we should all be preparing for that by keeping our minds sharp, which none of us do anywhere near as much as we should. But there's, I don't think I'd want to know if I was 50% likely to get Parkinson's or something.
But why wouldn't you? Because when you think you've got children,
because you can't do anything about it.
But it's somebody who's going to be looking after you. So get your estates in order, be ready, and have like a house where it is user friendly for someone who has Parkinson's. That's what I think, because I would never want to be wiping my dad's backside.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put on somebody else who cares about you. This is what I mean.
He'd shoot himself before.
So by knowing ahead of the time, you can get your estates in order and plan ahead for these kind of things.
My granddad lived alone in a 4-story house for 10, 15 years. I mean, he had Parkinson's for years before that, but on his own, he was there for 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Obviously, he went into a home for about 3 months towards the end, which, wasn't great. I'm not even sure we're allowed to talk about it. I don't know what was signed at the time, but it ended badly, put it that way. But he did great. He was doing chin-ups on his... He wasn't like a ripped guy. He was like a piece of paper. But
fit.
Yeah, he was an engineer by trade and was in the Navy. The Army as well.
Yeah.
Which I think everyone was that was his age, because Second World War.
Yeah. National service, being called to arms, your country needs you.
He was a motorbike courier in Egypt during the Second World War, and he was given a pistol and no bullets. And they said if the enemy gets you at any point, just point the gun and shout bang. Literally didn't give him bullets for his gun.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But can you imagine being a motorbike courier during a war, when you're literally just like, you get given a note and you've got to go and take this somewhere and you just bomb it on a motorbike?
It's like my grandfather was a Lancaster bomber pilot in the Second World War. So he was actually shot down over Germany and held in the prisoner of war camps for 2 years. He was a POW. And my cousin inherited his diary, but he kept a diary and he'd have other cellmates draw in it and keep him sane over those 2 years.
But I mean, we digress massively.
This is what we do. We love to talk.
The post-sex conversations are the best.
That's for you and me, not for them.
I know. You go from 0 to Holocaust in like 10 seconds.
I don't have a filter. Things that just come into my mind that are fascinating and are interesting to me, and I think things that we shouldn't be forgetting.
We both like history and like military history and stuff as well. But I think, like I say, I was more sad than I thought I would be over the Queen. I touched upon it on the video with the Office blokes that Charles has got a lot to do. I mean, I don't think anyone can fill her boots.
He shouldn't even try. He shouldn't be trying.
He needs to be his own king, but with the reputation of the royal family in such tumultuous times, he needs to do a very good job of damage control, because there's people around him. You know, it's one of his brothers, don't forget, that's paid 12 million in, like, you know, backhanders to people to drop the charges against him for sketchy stuff. You know, whether he's done it or not, you know, I kind of have my opinions on it and think, I think he's not.
There's truth behind every rumour, isn't there?
I'm not sure I agree with that. So
it may be a stretched rumour.
No, I think he's guilty, personally. But again, we don't know all the evidence and all that sort of stuff.
It's all it's like, innocent until proven guilty, hey?
But that's his brother, and that's the King of England's brother.
I know.
And it's like there's a lot of discontent in people's eyes. This is why I thought William and Kate would have been
better if he had abdicated the throne. I felt this for a long time.
People love William and Kate, but big time.
But you know, for everything and all the mistakes that Charles has made, King Charles, he has redeemed himself. I do think he's grown a lot.
I don't know what mistakes he's actually made. Like, I don't know.
Well, you know, the whole history is he was a little bit spoiled, a little bit petulant in his earlier age, and like when he was awarded, obviously, Prince of Wales, he disrespected the Welsh, and you know he took the mick, and he was, he was playing away sometimes.
Although all of
these situations.
There's a huge history in the royal family of playing away and mistresses and people on the side. There is literally so many illegitimate children that it's to think these people are beyond sort of impunity, you know. No, and they're like, they get married, and there's a public royal family and there's a behind the doors royal family, and I think we've had too much of a glimpse at the behind closed doors royal family, and that's what he needs to work on, is building that mystique again and that standard. But I just think William and Kate would have been able to circumvent all of that. And it just would have been...
They're more in tune with everything. And
William's
actually
couple.
Served our country on the front lines.
Yeah.
And he still does the rescue.
So did Harry.
Harry did, yeah. They had to pull him out because their platoon was being targeted because they were trying to get to Harry. Yeah,
free Harry.
I know. But
that was sad yesterday, actually, when they kept saying loads on the news. You know, we've heard that Harry's landing is going to be here soon. Harry's travelling alone, and you're like, of course he's travelling alone, you know, and late. He's missed everything. I sympathise with him. I've been in a similar position that we speculate his position is.
We speculate.
But yeah, I just thought that. I was like, you see Prince William driving, and although he had Edward next to him, it was Edward, wasn't it?
Or was it Charlotte?
No, the one that's been in
Louis.
trouble. No, the one that's been in trouble.
Oh, it is Andrew.
Andrew, sorry, not Edward. He was William driving.
I was like...
Andrew next to him.
Yeah.
Who was in the back? But they showed it, and it was like, regardless of what's gone on in the press, it was a family driving in a car. And it's like they're now second in line to the throne, or it would have been third. It would have been second at that point. Driving the family to go and see his grandma pass away, and then hours later Harry turns up on his own, you know, with a police escort. And I was just like, that's sad. It shouldn't be that way.
No.
I think we liked Harry a lot in this country.
We did.
I used to say King Harry, but he could never be the king because his dad's the milkman.
He was actually not. And no matter what the speculation is, Charles has specified in public that he does not need a DNA test. He doesn't care. That is his son.
It's the...
DNA doesn't matter.
I know. Who was the guy that's the spitting image of Harry?
It was the...
he was a military guy.
One of the officers, yeah.
Yeah.
Cannot remember his name.
Anyway, we digress massively.
Yeah, we're digressing again.
We've got Lord of the Rings to watch. Episode 3. So the watch-alongs are coming for anyone that's still with us. It's just I've had trouble... Obviously, it's a watch-along, not a reaction, so we've not got the whole thing there. But I am going to be like fading in and fading out. I was actually thinking when I'm screen recording on that PC of leaving that PC running so you can always see what we're watching, but you're going to see it like that.
Wouldn't that still be copyright?
I don't know.
I kind of think it
would be. But then I'll fade the actual big thing.
But then that's like when people do the reverse and then, you know, they size up. I think the fading in and fading out, just key moments.
Yeah.
Because you want people to be able to watch along with us.
Yeah.
So they're watching their screen, you're actually enjoying the programme, and then us chatting away in the background, as we usually do.
Chatting pants. But yeah, it'll be out soon. It's like, and we're also doing watch-alongs of Bake Off, British Bake Off, as it's called over in the States.
Yeah, along with some baking competitions.
It's called Great British Bake Off
Great
here,
British
isn't
Bake
it? So yeah, I'm thinking, because I just hear Americans call it British
or like
Bake Off.
Connie says, Great British Bake Off. Because
Yeah.
they're so nice to each other.
I can't wait for it. But we're also going to be baking, competing with each other every week, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And I've bought some snacks for us to try, some American.
Do it.
It's flaming hot Cheeto mac and cheese
I know, I'm
in a
intrigued.
box. It looks like absolute trash. It looks so bad.
I don't know. When I was a student,
sure it'll be tasty.
some of those box mac and cheeses weren't too bad.
I've never had one in my life.
Really?
Yeah, never.
As a student, it's not so bad when you really skin.
I got into Findus crispy pancakes when I was a student,
Those are good.
just with chips and gravy.
Oh my gosh. But yes, lots of baking and yeah. More adventures.
Trying stuff and adventures. We're going to see Doug Stanhope a week today.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a video about that. But yeah, nice one. So yeah, tell us what you think in the comments if anyone is actually watching, because this is very new and we're trying to build it.
Definitely.
So even one comment that
it's really appreciated.
Yeah.
And obviously our condolences and our thoughts go out to the royal family. No matter what anybody else's opinion or who you are, you're still a family mourning the loss of a loved one.
big time, yeah.
And we stand by you. We understand that loss. And it's a strange time we live in. I think it is the end of an era.
Big time, yeah, huge.
Specifically the Elizabethan, but it's an end of an era for a lot.
Yep. Right, let's end because my leg is starting to shake.
Is it?
I've had it in a weird position. It's not your fault, it's me. Right, cheers guys, we will see you soon.
See you soon.